Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. Stand up for your country. So I hope this is the last time I have to report about Jimmy Kimmel. Okay? Not that I have anything against Jimmy. Personally, I don't. I kind of like him. But I'm tired. I'm tired of the story. And no matter what I do worldwide, the media has stamped Mr. Kimmel a victim in the freedom of speech debate, which is totally bogus, but it isn't going to change. Okay? It's not. I mean, I'm like a lone voice here saying, no, this is not really the story about freedom of speech. And you know that. And that's one thing. I don't like to be repetitive. I don't like to go over and over and over and over. And I'm going to try not to do that now. We're going to analyze Mr. Kimmel's return. We're going to tell you stuff you don't know, because I do know. And then we'll move along. And at the end of the Talking Points memo, I'm going to give advice to both President Trump and to Jimmy Kimmel. Personal advice to both gentlemen at the end of the T Points, which begins right now. All right, so Mr. Kimmel returned as expected, unrepentant, but he wasn't arrogant. You know, he was fairly humble. He didn't apologize for suggesting that conservative Americans who support Donald Trump somehow were responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is what got Kimmel in trouble in the first place, that absurd notion, which is irresponsible in the extreme. Okay, that's what got him in trouble. But before that, Mr. Kimmel had carved out an anti-Trump posture that was almost a comedy act all in itself. It wasn't funny, but it was so absurd every single night. Colbert and Kimmel, all right, we got it. You don't like the guy. So anyway, I'm going to run down a few clips. We'll analyze them and we'll get some reaction. And then I will give my personal advice to both President Trump and Jimmy Kimmel, which I'm sure they're all going to write down and do exactly what I suggest. All right, so Kimmel opens it up last night with this. Go.
I want to thank everyone who checked in. It would take all week to list all of them, but some that I do especially want to mention are my fellow late night talk show hosts, my friend Stephen Colbert, who's found himself in this predicament, my friends Jon Stewart, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, John Oliver, Conan O'Brien, James Corden, Arsenio, Kathy, Wanda, Chelsea, even Jay reached out. I heard from late night hosts in other countries, from Ireland and from Germany. The guy in Germany offered me a job. Can you imagine? This country has become so authoritarian. The Germans are like, come here.
All right, it's okay. Not object. And my personal view is I don't want Jimmy Kimmel banished or anything. I don't believe in that cancel stuff. And they tried to do it to me. They only made me stronger, which it's pretty ironic, but it's exactly what happened. Now, as for the controversy himself, Kimmel should have said, look, I'm sorry I said that about the MAGA people. That's what he should have said. But, he's playing to a crew. Always remember that. These people play to a certain audience, not the whole audience, not the whole country. They play to a certain sliver. So here's what Kimmel said about the controversy. Go.
I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human. And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. But I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way.
All right, rational. I mean, that's not what the crux of the matter is. It was inappropriate to inject politics falsely a few days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Just inappropriate. And the reason that it happened was because Mr. Kimmel is a fanatic. All right? And that's not good. All right, the third one and the last one is about the overall issue of expression. Go.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who tell me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American, and it is so dangerous.
All right, no government official tried to coerce the companies to take Kimmel's show off the air. And I know that because I work for Nexstar, you know that. On News Nation, I appear. I'll be on with Cuomo tonight. That's not what that company did. The company, Nexstar, reacted to its local viewership, which was outraged about what Jim said. They got thousands of complaints. That's why the controversy erupted. This wasn't any conspiracy to silence Colbert and Kimmel. Now, to be fair and honest, President Trump doesn't like those people and would be happy if they disappeared. That is the truth. And my advice to President Trump is don't bother with this. You got three big things to do. I mean, major historical things that President Trump is facing. The Putin-Ukraine nuke situation. That is off the chart dangerous. The Chinese situation, which is the only solution to Putin, and the rising prices of groceries in America. Those are the Jimmy Kimmel doesn't mean anything to this country. Now, I well understand how poorly, unfairly Donald Trump has been treated for the past 10 years. I mean, because I was treated unfairly, but not nearly the way he was treated. And I understand his animus toward Kimmel and Colbert. I got it. But boy, Mr. President, you have so much, and it's so difficult that, you know, they kind of dip down into the Kimmel land. Not worth it. And for Jimmy Kimmel, I think you're pretty funny. I've been on your show 5 times. Stop being a zealot. I know you go to cocktail parties, you all hang out in Hollywood, and you're all the same mindset, but stop being a zealot. That's not what ABC hired you to do, even though they allow you to do it. Okay? You're not looking out for the folks or the public interest when you ban all non-liberal voices on your show, which is what you've done for 3 years. Talk about freedom of expression violations. All 5 of the liberal networks have banned every single non-liberal voice. That's Putin stuff, and I've said it way too much. I said it on the Hannity radio program again today, and I know I'm getting to be boring in saying it over and over, but that is the story. And Jimmy, personally, don't be a zealot. Okay, that's not playing to your strength. You simply don't know as much as it would take to do the analysis you're trying to do. You don't know because you don't try to find out. You live in a bubble. And it's true for Colbert. They never come up against me. In fact, Kimmel is going to be in Brooklyn, I think it's next week, and I had my representative say, look, O'Reilly would be happy to come on and talk about, you know what ratings would be for that? For him, if he did that? Or what are the odds of him doing that? And I'll, you know, if he does, then I'll give him props. Anyway, the story, I hope, is over. I hope everybody watching me around the world understands the real story here. And let's go forward. When you're buried in credit card and loan debt, it's easy to put it off and say, I'll deal with it later. But here's the thing. Done with Debt has a little known strategy that can dramatically reduce or even erase what you owe. In September, they will aggressively engage our lenders. Why? Because they know which credit card and loan companies are doing year-end accounting and cutting deals to clear debt fast. That's why you need to start with Done with Debt right now, in September. They can help end your debt fast, without bankruptcy or loans. In fact, most clients have more money in their pockets the first month. So get started while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their specialists, free. Visit donewithdebt.com. Donewithdebt.com. Ratings, TV ratings for Charlie Kirk's memorial. Fox News dominated, as you would expect. News Nation beat CNN and MS combined. Huge showing for News Nation. Averaged 615,000, almost 200,000 in the key demo for its telecast headed by Leland, Vittert. And I will be on with Cuomo tonight at 8 o'clock on News Nation. But that is a breakthrough for News Nation. It really is. And we had to report it. Now, what happened to CNN? CNN used to be on every breaking news story, every big event in the world. Because I've been in the business 50 years. CNN dominated. They dominated the news coverage. And they got whacked on this Charlie Kirk thing. 46,000 in the key demo. That's local news. Nobody's going to CNN anymore for breaking news. So joining us now from Maine is a guy who knows probably more about CNN than anybody else. His name is John Malone. You've heard about him. He's a very successful businessman. He's got a new book out called Born to be Wired: Lessons from a Lifetime Transforming Television, Wiring America for the Internet, Growing Formula One, Discovery, Sirius, and the Atlanta Braves. That is some subtitle to that book, Mr. Malone. But thank you for appearing. Look, you were there in various capacities, and even now you're the chair emeritus of Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN. You saw the change from a hard news agency into a left-wing concern. Did that bother you when it was happening?
Well, it depends on where I was at the time, I guess I would say. My involvement in the governance of CNN really started with the merger of Discovery and Time Warner, which took place about 3 years ago. Before that, I would say I was a shareholder indirectly and directly in Time Warner, but also in, for instance, News Corp that had Fox News, and we were owners of CNBC, and we owned McNeil Lehrer NewsHour for many years and underwrote that for the public broadcasting side. So I've been in and around news for a very long time, created CNBC together with the GE guys. So a long history in television news because I came from it as a distributor.
Right. You were in the cable side of it, and you're a technical genius, and you saw early on that the cable was going to dominate. You got in, you made a lot of money. But you write in your book that no Time Warner Discovery executives would interfere when Trump got into the political arena and CNN went anti-Trump. You know, it seems to me, if you're a big stockholder in that company, and you are, and you saw what was happening, that CNN was losing some of its credibility. It had grown since Ted Turner had owned it, that maybe somebody would have said something. But apparently that didn't happen.
Well, I said something and I got ripped for it. I didn't want to cause a walkout at the CNN newsroom, but I suggested that they follow the Fox model a little more closely and just label news, news, and label opinion, opinion, and maybe even have, a guest column or two. But they should differentiate. When we got started with Fox News, it was a call from Rupert Murdoch that said, "Is there room in America for another video news channel?" At that point, I was already a big investor in Ted Turner and CNN. And I said, "Yes, there is, Rupert, but you have to come in center right." And so Rupert's theory was, we're going to have real news. We're going to have guys like Bret Baier or Brit Hume before him. And it's going to be serious news. It's not going to be opinion. And then we're going to have a show that is entertaining and focuses really on politics, anything of current interest. And that was the original thesis. And your viewers, I'm sure they remember good old Rush Limbaugh, but Rupert's first thought was go recruit Rush Limbaugh to be the anchor on the first Fox News show. And I actually tried to talk Rush into it, and I couldn't. But he gave us Roger Ailes, which was a great.
Yeah, and I was
Fox News.
I was the guy who did the primetime opinion show. But we actively sought, Mr. Malone, the other side. My orders to my staff were find the smartest person you can who disagrees with me. And I wasn't an ideologue, I never have been. And we put him on. Now on CNN, I got the #1 selling book in the country right now, Confronting Evil. I can't get booked on CNN. I talked to Anderson Cooper directly. I said, "Anderson, you put me on, you're going to double your numbers. You're going to double them. And I got 20 #1 bestsellers on the New York Times list. That's a world record. Why wouldn't you put me on?" Silence.
So, well, I think you got to start by saying that CNN has great journalists, but they all are educated from the left.
Why? Why is that? You're one of the best business people in the country. And if people don't know John Malone, just Google it and you'll see how successful he has been. Why would you go exclusively left when that's not a good business plan?
Well, for a little while, let's go back. If you go back to Ted, Ted really founded CNN, and his idea was, 24/7 real news. And he recruited a lot of young people right out of journalism school and some who hadn't been to journalism school. And he started off, I think, fulfilling his mission. In fact, he was even being accused of being a right-winger early on. But over time, Ted's views tended to be a little more progressive, let's say, than conservative. His involvement with Jane tended to push him a little more in that direction. But nothing pushed CNN to the left like Rupert coming in on the right.
Well, that's true, but it hasn't worked. And now CNN's going to be sold, I understand. I think that might happen in the next few months. It didn't work. So why not pivot back to what you used to be when James Earl Jones was doing the voiceovers? Last word.
They didn't make me put me in charge of CNN. So I really have to just say I was a director and a shareholder, and basically had zero net influence over the direction of CNN while I was in that role at.
Still doesn't make any sense, though. You're a very astute mind. It doesn't make any sense. I think it's a Trump thing. I think it's probably that, but I'm not sure. The book is Born to be Wired. I found it really fascinating because I was, right in on this 1996 wave of the cable competition. Mr. Malone, the best to you. Thank you for appearing tonight. Cold and flu season coming on up. We all know it. And it really is nothing to take lightly. So when people start getting sick all across the country, medications disappear. Everybody wants it at the same time. So it's very, very smart to have a pharmacy you can count on, like All Family Pharmacy. Right now, they're helping Americans get ahead of the curve with 10% off antibiotics, antivirals, other essentials. You know how important it is to have the right meds when you get sick, particularly when your kids get sick. You don't want to be going into the doctor's office, spending all the time. You want to have them at your home. So if you have a few months' supply, you don't have to worry. And that's what we're doing here. If you believe in medical freedom, okay, and taking care of your family, as I do, this is the pharmacy for you. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. America is more dangerous than ever. With violent crime on the rise, while you could rely on a firearm, using deadly force today can land you in court, costing you years and your life savings. Trying to prove you acted in self-defense. FBI data shows 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. That's why smart Americans are turning to Byrna. Proudly made in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Byrna's less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by law enforcement, private security, more than 600,000 citizens. Byrna launchers fire kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas or pepper projectiles, able to stop a threat up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, delivered right to your door. Take control, be ready. Visit Byrna.com today. That's BYRNA.com, or head to your local Sportsman's Warehouse. Okay, here's the final thought. Leland Vittert on News Nation has an extraordinary new book coming out next week. And there'll be a documentary at 8 p.m. on Sunday, this coming Sunday, about it. And the book is about Leland's autism. He's autistic. Can you believe it? He's risen to the top of his profession. And what he went through when he was a kid and how his father saved him. Okay? So I interviewed Leland for this documentary on Sunday, News Nation, 8 p.m. Boy, it's worth it. It gives hope to millions and millions, not just autism, but any malady your child may have or your grandchild may have. What Leland overcame, incredible. So he'll be on this program on Tuesday, when his book comes out, and he'll explain it all to you. But get ahead of it on Sunday night, News Nation, 8 p.m., and I'll be on Cuomo at 8 p.m. tonight. Now, I'm going to take a pause for the cause and give my staff a little breather. I can't tell you how hard we've been working with the Charlie Kirk stuff and the book and all that. So tomorrow we're going to be off, and we'll be back on Monday. But I will have a brand new column on Sunday. All right? I'm not sure yet. I'm watching reaction to a whole bunch of stuff, but it'll be a good column. And we are very pleased, of course, that you watch and are so loyal to the No Spin News. I am Bill O'Reilly. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.